Hello there, I'm Sconchulus, and this is TEPPEN Quick Take, where we give a deck one shot and see what it do. Today we are playing a turbocharged, hyper-cheesed green energy deck, which aims to harness the untapped potential of thermal energy, alongside shieldspire to push our machines far beyond their limits. First off, all our green units should be familiar. If you saw the last Absolute Zero video, check that out. If not, cause we're skipping the tutorial this time. The flashy brand new build around is Eternal Guardian Statue, and the card to break both that and our other energy cards, Thermal Energy. For 1 MP, this card heals 1 HP and activates 1 energy effect halfway. Energy effects are never on command like that, so this unlocks some pop-offs. From having Hercules buff everyone before attacking, or to giving agility to Hirondelle without them attacking. Thermal energy is fittingly pure gas. And that brings us to our purple energy cards. These work mostly like the green energy cards from last time, but instead of battle activating their energy effect, purple energy effects activate off of direct attacks, and it must be that specific unit attacking to activate its own effect. This makes them a bit harder to set up, but gives them much higher aggro potential. The star is Hirondelle. As mentioned, they gain agility from energy, which combined with shieldspire and an infinite rising attack makes for the scariest rushdown unit of the meta. Next to the elephant in the room it's an elephant. That's the joke. Mostly just good to buff with Hercules, but he's gotten unblockable, so he can do stuff, end games sometimes, and thermal energy combos can make him a threat no matter what, but this early game boss is, of course, outshined, ironically, by Jet Black Shadow Phantom. This is the exact same card. It just trades the unblockable for a quirky little resonate, and he has learned the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Once again, extremely potent with thermal energy. And both these cards are great with wall jump and our other brand new 1 MP card. The specific suite of actions we play let us play fast and loose with action phase and in general, without really having to worry about not having a play. If you ever go for a thermal energy, chances are you'll have an it'll be okay or a shield to protect it. And even if they have a bounce, you should be able to Crimson Assault to guarantee get some value back. This goes a long way to make 2-color aggro feel okay to play. Just being able to wait and pass like a normal deck does feels great in 2-color, but what this card really does is unlock the strongest machine in Standard at the moment. Sea Blue Fairy Leviathan. As a 5 MP, 3/9 combo unit, she is already enough value to turn the game on its head the second she's played. So the fact you can back her up with Shieldspire, or even just her own effect a single time, makes her broken, and that is hardly the height of her potential. The fact the usual selling point of her energy effect is just a footnote on the card in this deck should really capture what a bizarre aggro setup game we aim to play. And the Eternal Guardian Statue epitomizes that. If we can get Gar active with Shieldspire, the game is almost always gonna go to us. The peak of set it and forget it. And that's exactly how most of our goofy setups work. With enough setups and protection for them, eventually we should be bound to find something that wins. And a couple really strong bounces help us find our combos. I just pretend they're combo pieces as well. Here's that QR for you, and with all that said, let's do this! Game 1, we are immediately taking things seriously, challenging the first of 3 top meta decks, Purple Frenzy. I want to use this video to make a case for casual, non-meta decks, but to do that, I probably need to get some kind of results against the meta deck, so hopefully we can do that now. We'll start things off with our star unit, Hirondelle, and our opponent will play down any 4 MP Frenzy. It happens to be Giganox. We'll play our first 2 discount cards, and we happen to draw into the 6 MP we would have rather discounted. Our opponent plays down their first Spirit, and we are able to clear the non-Spirit to guarantee the bounce from Rogue and John goes to their Spirit. We will play down our Hercules, so we are still able to cycle and keep the pressure on, and our opponent will go for their Hero Art in the top lane. Thankfully, we just survived thanks to the -1 damage, and are able to go for our The Day the Sky Tour. I definitely have cut this card now for Hero Sword, which is a lot more consistent. But here, it's super flashy, and really shows that there's still a lot of potential for different ways to build this deck. Something I kind of want to hopefully inspire you guys to mess around with. I think there's a lot to still discover with this deck, but we will go for our absolute strongest play that will very likely end the game here. Gar into Thermal Energy to activate Gar, getting him an extra cycle of attack, but unfortunately our opponent has one of the only removal options that purple can use to easily deal with it. A bounce usually just means we can play it from hand again, but here we are able to go for the much cheaper bounce, which will go to our opponent's full pocket, guaranteeing we don't have to worry about it again. Our opponent will play down a Daniela just to block at this point, and she is not able to get the frenzy effect, the frenzy bonus effect. Our opponent will play down another Spirit. We do not have the bounce at the moment at this point, but thankfully we aren't actually destroying it at the moment either. We will go for our Hercules into our Shieldspire to create a board much stronger than our opponent's, and going for Thermal Energy, our opponent has no choice but to answer it with a negate, and when we have the second one, our opponent will make what I can only call a hugely game-losing mistake, if not for the fact that we already have a guaranteed victory here. With everything on board, even a full Frenzy pop-off is unlikely to turn things around. Our opponent can trump block one last time, but we are able to get in lethal for game 1 with purple-green Shieldspire. Alright, let's push our luck. Realistically, we should never ever win this match, but hopefully we can put on a good show at least against the rank 1 player playing Lock the Best deck. But with a solid combo opening, Aloue into Hercules, we've got a shot to do something. Our opponent opens with Camellios, and we are able to play down a Mahagana Sharif to close out the board before they can get their locks going. We play one wall jump to get another cycle with Aloue, and we'll go for our Thermal Energy. Unfortunately, not able to protect Aloue, but we get a solid board going for turn 1 here. Our opponent will finally go for a lock, getting an unblockable with their Dante Masamune, and bringing them up to a massive 4-7 thanks to their Tsukumo, which is also a 3-7. We are able to use another Thermal Energy to get a massive buff on board, and to unlock our Shieldspire on the top lane, massively lowering the damage we would have taken, and getting our Mahagana Sharif up to a 3-7. We should be able to trade on the top lane as long as we go for one more action to do it. Thankfully defeating their massive 8-3 Date Masamune before it can become any more of a massive problem. Of course, they are able to go for another in the bottom lane, getting even more free value, but at one attack, it is the perfect setup for our Hercules, which can just be bounced again. Of course, we do get a slight buff to our Joan, which will bring our opponent down to a very critical life total at only 6. Anything could end the game here. We'll go for a Rogue and John to try and find some sort of setup, but against the rank 1 player, it's pretty unrealistic to actually find anything here, so we'll just go for our best card, our final setup, and what we have here actually might be an unblock. This actually could be an unblockable. This should be a 1-frame block that even the rank 1 player can't get quite right. We take game 1. This is honestly just a victory lap, you guys. I cannot believe that just happened. I only put it at game 2 because the people don't usually watch game 3, but after that happened, I've been playing way more of this deck than I ever expected to, and it's a blast. Honestly, If you're just playing with a casual perspective, you can do a ton with decks like this. Notice even when I took that loss, that hit there, I felt like surrendering, but playing it out, we are immediately able to push it back into Hirondelle up to a 312 thanks to our Hercules, even with all of their interactions like Leon's and their debuffs from Falcons to discount their cards in hand. Even the best hero art for this deck, Shinku Hudoken, is able to defeat our Hirondelle, but with our double bounces, we're able to put our opponent back far enough. They're able to go for their Joe with the Leon effect to defeat our Hirondelle finally. But we are able to put on more pressure, playing down our Jet Black Shadow Phantom with the guaranteed thermal energy to get more pressure on board to discount our Red Spider in hand. When the attack goes off, we get our Red Spider down to 2, and everything is going according to plan, even though our opponent has every interaction they could choose at every opportunity. We don't really have any ways to stop them from doing their game plan, but we are massively popping off. Our Phantom is up to a 3-6. Our opponent is able to play down a Gliai Ascent for Kolbor, basically hitting every part of the game plan that they want to, but with our fully discounted MS Red Spider, we are able to bounce all of their cards. We have all of the interaction for their damage, and we are able to get them down to a single life point left. We have our strongest card, and we are able to take Game 3. Here we are again. I had a blast. In a historically unfun format, there's a ton that you can do to have a blast in TEPPEN, because I'll just come right out and say it. This is the greatest game of all time. I know that's a hot take, but I can always find a way to have the most fun I can have in a game in TEPPEN. So as much as there are reasons to be down on this format, here's my effort to share a little bit of my endless passion for this game with all of you all here. And don't let me, mislead you with the power level of this deck. This is not a meta deck. I do think there's clearly something here that's a little undercooked still. I think one of you out in the community can fully solve this. I think possibly cutting the elephant could give you more cards to beat more of the meta decks. But clearly, this deck has a really good Purple Frenzy matchup. The reason I was getting those big win streaks you saw is cause this deck kinda eats Purple Frenzy. I don't really understand why. It's just really synergistic, unexpected combos, I suppose. Unfortunately, I don't have a budget version for you guys this time, so instead, I'm just gonna ramble a bit here about how to build gimmicky meme decks like this. Of course, any deck easily starts just by searching your keywords, typing in energy, machine, looking through the set and the MP range of cards you want to play. But when you want to try to find what's strong about a deck, like what I did for this deck was figuring out what is powerful about each of the things I'm putting in the deck. I knew purple had great interaction, so initially I was loaded up on bounces like Anticipated Battle, which did accomplish some things. It made some matchups better, but overall for 2-color it was way too slow. So what really let me turn that crappy deck into this really exciting fun deck was having an open mind with it. I knew what was strong about the 2 colors, but I was willing to throw aside my preconception that this interaction was what was going to make it good, and instead was able to focus on the combo potential that ended up defining this version. And I don't know, I rambled way too long there. Maybe some of that was helpful, but probably not. Regardless, I hope that all of you will play something creative, maybe this deck, and have fun casually enjoying a crazy format that we're stuck in for a second. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you subscribed. Once again, I'm Sconchulous, and I'll see you in the next one.